the endless sort of hysteria that Hillary just showed right there, it's just coming from almost every Democrat at this point. I would love to find a Democrat who wasn't doing it, and I would gladly have them on the show and treat them the same way I treat you guys and all my other guests. GQ ran a crazy fluff piece, cover piece, with AOC this week, and there's some real gems in there just to talk about how they're ramping up the insanity. I got some quotes here from you. From AOC, this is the GQ piece on AOC. Over the course of our conversations, the Congresswoman typically answered in a confident, fast-paced patter, each sentence closely chasing the tail of the last. But now her speech slowed to a crawl. And for the first time in the hours we had spent speaking, she broke eye contact, burying her gaze in the arm of her chair. Tears pooled in the corners of her eyes. Jesus Christ, I'm going to barf. That was me. I hold two contradictory things in mind at the same time. One is just the relentless belief that anything is possible, she said. But at the same time, my experience here has given me a front row seat to how deeply and unconsciously, as well as consciously, so many people in this country hate women. And they hate women of color. People ask me questions about the future, and realistically, I can't even tell you if I'm going to be alive in September. And that weighs very heavily on me. And it's not just the right wing. Misogyny transcends political ideology, left, right, or center. This grip of patriarchy affects us all, not just women, men, as I mentioned before, but also ideologically. There's an extraordinary lack of self-awareness in so many places. And so those are two very conflicting things. I admit to sometimes believing that I live in a country that would never let that happen. Amala, I'm a little confused here because I've done many public events with you, and as far as I know, I don't care about such things, but you are a woman and a woman of color. I have seen all sorts of people give you standing ovations and sign autographs and take selfies. These are supposed to be scary, racist, white supremacists. Is AOC a little confused or maybe drunk? What's going on here?
You know, there's a lot to unpack there. She said she didn't know if she was going to make it until September. If that's the timeline that we've got right now, I need to get going on that bucket list. But it seems like she's having a really, really hard time. And I don't know whether or not this is theatrical, because we know she's gone to the border fence and cried. She thought she was going to die on January 6th. But I would like to take a comment like that. I don't think I will make it until September, or I don't know if I'll make it to September, very seriously. But what does she think is going to happen? Is it climate that's going to kill her? Is it the MAGA Republicans who are coming after her? Or is it her own mental health? And if it is that, we should be taking it seriously. It's just really hard with all the theatrics that she is constantly engaged in to take a comment like that seriously.
Robert. It was really stunning and brave of you, Amala, to just sit there while Dave assumed your gender so violently.
I should cancel him.
Well, I didn't say it. You did, you know.
Robert, is it, I mean, look, I know irony is dead and all of that stuff, but, you know, when she says, you know, she's the victim in all this, I mean, what lays beneath everything she said there is that she is a victim for whatever reason she's a victim. At the same time, she's calling everyone else these horrible things. Does she not realize that could cause a situation where perhaps they won't make it to September because of her inflammatory language? Is that totally lost on her?
Well, I think both AOC and Hillary's statements reflect confession through projection, which is one of my favorite sayings. Because it's people who, if you get randomly accused of something that makes no sense by somebody, just assume that they're confessing themselves and they're describing their own behavior. And that's what, like, AOC saying, man, there's a lot of lack of self-awareness in the world. That precisely summarizes AOC. Utter lack of self-awareness completely. This politics of narcissism, this sort of Instagram-driven politics of people that completely lack self-awareness. It's her defining aspect. And then the same with Hillary. This is someone who tried to create fascistic aspects in our own government with her ties to various operations in inside and outside government, the Clinton Foundation being the most notoriously corruption of our government in recent modern history until the Biden family took over the White House. And yet here she's talking about someone who weaponized the FBI, who is bragging, selling merchandise over the fact that she destroyed a bunch of emails that were actually work classified, while the president gets raided for things that he had a legal right to declassify. So it shows the degree of absurdity that is occurring, but it's both are cases of confession through projection.
Spencer, when they treat her like the queen, and then they treat sort of Republican women horribly. Mayra Flores, who's the new congresswoman from Texas, is a great example. This woman wins a seat in a border town in Texas, a month and a half ago or so. First time a Republican's had the seat in over 100 years. The New York Times writes an article, and I quote, "The rise of the far-right Latina." But again, it's the double standard thing that we just need to move past it, right? I mean, do we need to keep calling it out, or should we just let it go and figure out a better way to fight back?
Well, sorry, go on.
Spencer.
I just think it's important with the comment that Hillary made to point out what authoritarianism looks like. And it looks like big government, expansion of regulations, mass censorship, and staving off political dissidents. And that's exactly what they're engaged in.
Yeah. Spencer.
I certainly think we can get over the, Democrats are the real racists pulling out our hair, running around on fire. Like, this is who they are. They've told us who they are a million times. We've seen it over and over and over again. We know they're going to behave this way. And we do need to develop some strategies, not just for complaining about it, but actually pushing back against it, electing people that will kick these guys out of office and so on and so forth. It all does, however, raise the really important question, which is when can we expect the AOC guest spot on Meghan Markle's new podcast? This is, I think, the country demands to know. We need this appearance, and they do deserve each other. I mean, Britain is mourning the death of its monarch as we speak, and she leaves behind her a royal family that is in some ways in shambles precisely because of this trend that's going on both sides of the Atlantic. People governing not only by emotion and victimization, but also narcissism and self-glamorization. That's, again, all AOC has to offer. She's very good at it. She looks great in that GQ shoot. You have to hand it to her. But I think the thing that we've got to get better at is just acknowledging that these people are, pandering fascistic bigots, and we got to, move past that and fight our own battles.